Welcome to Comics on a Pyre, a channel to have a meaningful conversation over movies, life, books, and shows, and maybe just a spot to spend time BSing over comics. If you like your entertainment with a bit of substance, then you, my vagabond friend, have come to the right tavern. Tether your horse by the post and come right on in and warm yourself by the fire. Tap that subscribe button, and for the next few minutes, my fellow George Carlin reprobate, lend me your ear. Man, I really don't know where to start with this one. Having been somewhat familiar with the character known as the Question from the cartoon series Justice League Unlimited, I was like, cool, a black label miniseries on the character. Judging by the DC imprint company's track record so far, this should be interesting. Man, was I in for a ride on this first issue. If you are familiar with the Question, aka Charles Victor Zsasz, aka Vic Sage, as I am, then like me, you needed some brushing up on this character to get your head around what this first issue was dropping you into. Apparently, the Question's civilian persona is a television personnel known to the world as Vic Sage. He hosts a show called Hardwire, which I assume is like something between CNN's Larry King show and Piers Morgan Live, where a hard-nosed reporter / interviewer asks the guest hard and difficult questions. Questions that put the interviewee on the spot, leading to uncomfortable situations that lead to good TV. By day, Vic Sage is a famous TV interviewer, but by night, a masked vigilante. I never saw this combo before in comics and thought to myself, this should be interesting. Also in the mix is Dr. Aristotle Tot Rotter, who the Question just refers simply to as Tot. He is a scientist and former school professor who lives in Hub City. He is responsible for the mask that the Question wears, as well as a longtime ally. Kinda like the Punisher's microchip, if you know what I mean. You are never directly told this information in the issue, so to find out just where Tot fitted into the story, I had to Wikipedia him, which took me out of the story. Anyway, while the Question is busting a city-known politician for underage prostitution, he comes across a ring that the politician is wearing. It has a strange, enigmatic insignia on it, which sparks his interest, and so after roughing up the man, he acquiesces it. Later on in the story, he notices another man of unscrupulous morals wearing that same exact insignia ring. And that man just happens to be the attorney for a longtime friend turned enemy that Vic was interviewing previously on the show. After some research on a computer, Vic Sage the Question discovers that the ring's marking is a symbol of a secret society going way back in Hub City's history. An exclusive club by the name of Hub City Elder Society. Locating the whereabouts of the group's last known location, the Question decides to investigate the building's basement. What he finds at the location is a little more than what he bargained for. Realizing that he is over his head, Vic decides to contact an old friend by the name of Richard Dragon. To help him learn more about his findings, unbeknownst to Sage, his old friend Dragon drugs him with what appears to be a hallucinogen, which sends Vic into a psychedelic trip into his mind. Why the Dragon does this, it's unclear. All the while this story thread is playing out, two more are happening simultaneously. One about a white police officer shooting two unarmed black kids, and another about Miss Myra Berman, a city alderman that just happens to be the sister of the city's mayor. She suspects her brother of wrongdoing and decides to confront him. The whole comic feels convoluted at times, and it's hard to follow. Somewhat in part because the Question's real name is Charles Victor Zsasz. Every time his name came up, I kept thinking about another DC character by the same name of Victor Zsasz, which happens to be a Batman villain. Of all the names for the creators to pick from, these two I felt were just too close. It would be forgivable if one character was in the Marvel universe and the other one in the DC, but they are both in the DC universe. I guess it doesn't make a difference either way because I found myself not caring about what was exactly happening in the story. Plus, the artwork wasn't helping much at all. It's by no means pleasant to look at, and can seem to be just a bunch of squiggly lines at times. I myself do not see myself looking out for the next issue. I don't know. I wanted to like this issue and had such high hopes for it, having liked the cartoon persona and all. Oh well, better luck next time when a new series about this character comes out. Also, by the way, am I the only one who felt the question reminded them a whole lot of Rorschach from The Watchmen? While reading the comic, my mind kept wandering off and thinking of him. I even read the question's inner dialogue in Rorschach from the Watchmen movie's voice. Very distracting. Well, that's it for now. In the meantime, check out my YouTube channel, Comics on Pyre, for other videos like this one. Tap on that bell icon before you go, and oh yes, as always, until next time, keep reading, my friends.